Hey y'all, the leftist media propaganda is at it again.
Most far-right leader since Benito Mussolini.
It's furthest right since Benito Mussolini.
It's furthest right since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right leader since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right prime minister since Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian prime minister since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right prime minister since Mussolini.
She's also set to become the most far-right Italian head of government since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian head of government since Mussolini. The most far-right head of Italian government since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian head of government since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian head of government since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian head of government since Benito Mussolini. The most far-right Italian head of government since Mussolini. The most far-right Italian head of government since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian government since Benito Mussolini.
The most far-right Italian head of government since Mussolini. The most conservative Italian head of government since Mussolini.
The most conservative Italian head of government since Mussolini.
The American media is looking at the new prime minister of Italy as a right-wing conservative fascist. They're literally comparing her to Benito Mussolini. If you don't know who Benito Mussolini is, check this out.
He was Il Duce. Benito Amilcare Andrea Mussolini was born July 29, 1883 in Predappio, Italy. Due to his father's political inclinations, he was named after prominent socialist leaders. Mussolini was a disruptive but intelligent student. He developed beliefs similar to his father's and joined the Socialist Party in 1900. After graduating, he worked briefly as a teacher before moving to Switzerland in 1902 to evade military service. In 1904, Mussolini was deported to Italy and served 2 years in the army. He was soon considered one of the country's foremost socialists, and after becoming editor of the Socialist Party newspaper Avanti, he significantly improved readership. When World War I began in 1914, the Socialist Party disapproved of Italian intervention. Mussolini eventually supported the war, and this got him ejected from the party. He then aligned himself with revolutionary nationalist beliefs and produced the pro-war newspaper Il Popolo d'Italia. In 1915, Mussolini rejoined the army and served in the war before an injury sent him back to his newspaper job. By 1919, he created the Italian Combat Squad as an alternative to socialism. This coincided with a period of Italian social discord known as the Biennio Rosso, or 2 Red Years, when his paramilitary fascist black shirts publicly sparred with socialists and other groups. In 1921, the Combat Squad became the National Fascist Party, and Mussolini won a seat in the Italian Chamber of Deputies. His party was soon ready for power. In October 1922, the March on Rome resulted in the Fascist Party seizing power. On October 31, 1922, Benito Mussolini became the 40th Prime Minister of Italy and the youngest to that point. Mussolini spent the next years disassembling the Italian democratic system, using propaganda to portray himself as the only man capable of unifying the country and transforming Italy into a one-party state. In 1925, he made himself dictator and took the title of Il Duce, or the leader. The fascists were accused of using violent force to crush political foes. However, despite some assassination attempts, Mussolini was initially widely supported due to his efforts fighting unemployment and financial decline. One of Mussolini's most significant achievements was the Lateran Pact of 1929. This treaty settled the long-standing dispute between Italy and the Roman Catholic Church and created the independent state of Vatican City. Mussolini then began colonizing African countries to create a new Roman Empire. For example, 1935's Ethiopian War resulted in that country's seizure by the Italian Empire. In 1936, Mussolini sent military aid to Spanish dictator Francisco Franco in the Spanish Civil War. This pushed Mussolini closer to Nazi Germany's dictator Adolf Hitler, though their early relationship was unstable. To strengthen ties, Mussolini adopted the anti-Semitic Manifesto of Race in 1938, despite disagreeing with its premise. In 1939, the Pact of Steel solidified the Rome-Berlin Axis of 1936. Despite this, Italy initially remained uninvolved in World War II following Germany's invasion of Poland. By June 1940, Mussolini thought the war was almost over, so he entered Italy in the conflict as an Axis power by declaring war on Britain and France. Losses in Greece and North Africa soon showed Italy's military shortcomings. From 1942, Mussolini steadily lost support. Following the Allied invasion of Sicily in July 1943, he was ousted from power by the Italian king and subsequently arrested. In his absence, the Fascist Party was disbanded and a truce was signed with the Allies. Germany then invaded Italy in September 1943. Meanwhile, German forces freed Mussolini from prison. He wished to retire from politics. However, he ended up Hitler's puppet as head of a new fascist regime called the Italian Socialist Republic. The Allied presence then spread northward through Italy. On April 27, 1945, as Mussolini attempted to escape to Switzerland, he was captured by Italian partisans and executed by firing squad the next day. His body was then hung in a Milan town square to dissuade other fascists from carrying on the cause. Due to his vanity, womanizing, and egotism, Benito Mussolini shaped Italian and world history and proved himself as one of the 20th century's most controversial dictators.
I wonder why the American left-wing propaganda media view her as a fascist dictator. Check this out. This is Giorgia Meloni. She's the new Prime Minister of Italy.
Potrei farne tante altre di queste domande. A monte c'è quella che ci facciamo oggi: perché la famiglia è un nemico? Perché la famiglia fa così paura? C'è una risposta unica per tutte queste domande. Perché ci definisce, perché è la nostra identità. Perché tutto quello che ci definisce in questo tempo è un nemico, per chi vorrebbe che non avessimo più un'identità e che fossimo solamente schiavi, consumatori perfetti. E allora è sotto attacco l'identità nazionale, è sotto attacco l'identità religiosa, è sotto attacco l'identità di genere, è sotto attacco l'identità familiare. Non devo potermi definire italiana, cristiana, donna, madre, no. Io devo essere cittadino X, genere X, genitore 1, genitore 2, devo essere un numero. Perché quando sarò solamente un numero, quando non avrò più un'identità, quando non avrò più radici, beh, allora sarò lo schiavo perfetto in balia della grande speculazione finanziaria, il consumatore perfetto. E questa è la ragione per la quale oggi noi facciamo tanta paura. Questa è la ragione per la quale oggi questo appuntamento fa tanta paura. Perché noi non vogliamo essere dei numeri, noi siamo qui per dire che noi non siamo dei numeri, noi difenderemo il valore della persona umana, di ogni singola persona umana, perché ognuno di noi ha un codice genetico unico e irripetibile. E questo, piaccia o no, ha del sacro. Lo difenderemo Dio, la patria e la famiglia, che fanno tanto schifo a qualcuno. Lo faremo per difendere la nostra libertà, perché noi non saremo mai schiavi e semplici consumatori in balia della speculazione finanziaria. Ecco la nostra missione, ecco perché oggi sono venuta qui. Scriveva Chesterton ormai più di un secolo fa, vediamo se ve lo trovo: fuochi verranno attizzati per dimostrare che 2 più 2 fa 4. Spade verranno sguainate per dimostrare che le foglie sono verdi in estate. Quel tempo è arrivato, signori. Siamo pronti. Grazie.
Wow. She's the Italian woman version of Donald Trump. Real talk. Remember that you're loved and be great every day. Peace out, y'all.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. You can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.
All right!
My personal opinion, Giorgia Meloni, or however you pronounce the name, she has an agenda to restore the traditional identity of Italy. The Christian identity, the family identity. They're all about being Catholic or Christian, right? If she wants to restore Italy back to its traditional grace, I don't see the problem. If you think about it, right? Benito Mussolini, he was all about country. He wanted to separate church from state, so they created the Vatican. But first and foremost, he was all about Italy. He was all about the country. And he was all about preserving the Italian bloodline. Just like Hitler was all about preserving the German bloodline, the Aryan race, right? The perfect German, white skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, whatever, even though he wasn't any of that. See, we have been messed up here in the United States, right? When we think of nationalism, we think of the KKK, the white supremacy. Then y'all start talking about Donald Trump and how he wanted America to be pure white and, all this other stuff. You keep putting that white narrative, that white nationalist narrative. When in reality, the entire time he was in office and before he was in office, he was denouncing white supremacy.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. I spoke out forcefully against hatred, bigotry, and violence, and strongly condemned the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, and the KKK.
President Donald Trump signed a congressional joint resolution that condemns white supremacy, neo-Nazis, and other hate groups.
In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy.
This is America, y'all. America should come first to Americans. I'm sorry. That's just how that goes. If you want to be gay, straight, lesbian, that's on you. You have the freedom to do that. But if you want to be fascist and you want to kill your opposition for speaking out against you, or you want to silence the people who don't agree with what you got to say, that's fascism, and we don't need that in America.